I was planning on preventing these two guys from moving the car and definitely killing these guys.
It's important to recall the courage that was shown by the agents that day and the FBI.
I'm out of here!
Because of the continued use of violence by these two individuals.
No one expected to become one of the bloodiest chapters in FBI history.
I wasn't planning on being heroic. Okay, that's the last thing from my mind.
1986, on a Sunday, April day, retired Army vets went rogue in Florida. A wild crime spree ensued, leading to a legendary shootout with the FBI. Who won? Let's break it down. The suspects. Get ready to go back in time to 1986, when two retired Army vets went rogue in Florida. Michael Lee Platt and William Russell Mattox had served in the military police and were honorably discharged. But something went wrong, and they decided to go on a crime spree that would make Bonnie and Clyde proud. On that fateful April morning, the FBI was on their tail, and the two robbers found themselves in a showdown with the law. The tension was palpable as bullets flew through the air in one of the most infamous shootouts in U.S. history. The FBI agents were outnumbered and outgunned, but they didn't back down.
In Miami, a gang of robbers targeted banks and armored cars. They carried assault weapons. They struck during the day and sometimes twice a day. For a while, they seemed unstoppable.
Eventually, the shootout ended with both Platt and Mattox meeting their demise at the hands of the FBI. It was a dramatic ending to a wild crime spree that will go down in history. Both Mattox and Platt had a history of failed marriages before their crime spree, and to make matters even more mysterious, it's unclear if any of their previous spouses' demises were connected to the two robbers' actions. But things took a dark turn when the duo committed their first slayings and robbery on October 4th, 1985.
I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. We knew that to stop these criminals would require stealth, ingenuity, and perhaps a little luck.
They slayed young Emilio Briel at a quarry and stole his car and firearm. Emilio's body remained missing until after the April 11th shootout. It's hard to imagine what drove these two Army vets to turn to a life of crime and violence. Even more shocking is the fact that both men had no criminal record before their crime spree. It just goes to show that anyone is capable of making terrible decisions. So, grab some popcorn and get ready to dive even deeper into the Miami-Dade Shootout, a story of tragedy, mystery, and the dark side of human nature. A string of heists. Hold on to your hats, folks, because things are about to get even crazier. After slaying young Emilio Briel, Mattox and Platt went on a months-long crime spree, committing several armed robberies using Briel's stolen car as their getaway vehicle. FBI documents reveal that the duo committed 4 robberies prior to the infamous Miami-Dade Shootout, stealing over $100,000 in cash, which would be worth over $250,000 today. But even with blood on their hands and all that cash in their pockets, none of their spouses, tenants, or acquaintances suspected a thing. It just goes to show that even the people closest to us can be fooled. Chase before the shootout. The FBI had caught wind of the string of robberies that had been plaguing the area, so they sent out a team of 14 agents and 11 vehicles to stake out and search for the suspects. They had a vague description of a black 1982 Monte Carlo based on a witness from the last robbery on March 19th. And wouldn't you know it, at around 9:30 a.m., Agents Grogan and Dove spotted the very car they were looking for.
I was planning on preventing these two guys from moving the car and definitely killing these guys.
April 11th or prior to that, Collazo would have been able to positively identify Mattox, and 2 FBI agents wouldn't have been killed. But that's not the way the luck worked out.
I wasn't planning on being heroic. Okay, that's the last thing from my mind.
And we probably would have been able to arrest Mattox and also Platt.
But it seems that Mattox and Platt were no amateurs when it came to evading the law. They suspected they were being followed and began driving on side roads to lose the trailing FBI vehicles. But the FBI agents were hot on their tail and decided to make a felony stop, a move that would change everything. The suspect's car collided with several of the FBI vehicles, forcing the black Monte Carlo off the road and into a tree. That's when the shooting began. 8 agents faced off against the 2 suspects, and what followed was one of the most infamous law enforcement shootouts in U.S. history. FBI agent armament. The FBI agents were armed to the teeth and ready for a firefight with the notorious robbers Matix and Platt. Smith & Wesson seemed to be the weapon of choice for the agents, with models 459, 686, and 10 being wielded by various members of the team.
There were basically no clues as far as who these individuals were. We had absolutely no idea.
Damn, I'm out of ammo.
No one had seen them without the black hoods over their faces. They wore gloves on both hands.
Special Agent Hanlon Jr. had 2 guns on him, a Smith & Wesson Model 459 and a 2.5-inch 38 caliber revolver, just in case one wasn't enough. But that's not all. Agents McNeil and Morales had Remington 870 shotguns in their vehicles, ready to unleash hell if necessary. And let's not forget about the other firearms that were present at the stakeout operation, waiting in the vehicles of other FBI agents. It was a veritable arsenal, and the FBI agents were not messing around. They were prepared for anything and everything, even if they didn't quite know what they were getting themselves into. Would it be enough to take down Matix and Platt? They were about to find out. Matix and Platt's armament. The shootout between the FBI and Matix and Platt was a fierce and fatal battle.
By retired FBI Special Agent Ed Morales, who survived one of the most infamous shootouts.
At the end of the shooting, Platt had 11 hits, Maddox had 6 hits.
It's important to recall the courage that was shown by the agents that day and the FBI.
Platt was literally shot to pieces, and he kept fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting.
Despite being outnumbered, the 2 suspects had superior firepower and military training, making them a formidable opponent for the agents. For 5 intense minutes, the agents engaged in a lethal exchange of gunfire with the robbers, with bullets flying in all directions. Matix and Platt were armed to the teeth with weapons including a Ruger Mini 14, a Smith & Wesson Model 3000 shotgun, a Smith & Wesson Model 586, and a Den Wesson 357 Magnum revolver. The FBI agents had to fight back with everything they had, including their issued and backup weapons, as well as Remington 870 shotguns. 5 minutes, 145 shots. The air was thick with smoke and the sound of gunfire as the FBI agents and the notorious criminals Matix and Platt exchanged bullets. The agents were outgunned and outnumbered, but they were not about to give up. Special Agent Grogan took the first shot, hitting Matix in the forearm, but soon he and his colleagues were under heavy fire. Matix and Platt were skilled in the arts of military arms training, and they used their superior weaponry to lethal effect. Agent Manauzi was hit in the back and head by a shotgun blast from Matix, while Platt fired his Mini 14 at Agent Morales, disabling his left forearm. It seemed as if the agents were outmatched, but they refused to back down. SSA McNeil fired his Model 10 revolver at Platt over the hood of the injured Agent Manauzi's car. Platt fired back with his Mini 14 and hit McNeil, who collapsed from his injuries. Matix was hit in the head and neck by McNeil's service revolver and was knocked unconscious for a moment. But Platt was still on the move, advancing on the agent's position.
We don't have an acceptable body count in civilian law enforcement.
Hang in there, no.
We're taught one way, and that's defensive type shooting. You take cover, you do not take casualties.
I'm out of here.
Look at the way Platt reacted that day. He reacted in a military fashion. He had the heavier weapon.
Agents Grogan, Hanlon, and Dove were reloading their firearms, unaware of Platt's approach. Platt shot Grogan in the chest, Hanlon in the groin, and Dove twice in the head. Hanlon was wounded but survived, while Grogan and Dove were slayed. Platt then tried to make his escape in Grogan and Dove's car, but Agent Morales wasn't going to let him get away. Using only one arm, Morales shot Platt in both feet with his Remington 870 shotgun. Matix regained consciousness and joined Platt in the car, and Morales attempted to shoot them both but missed. Platt tried to start the stolen FBI vehicle, but Morales wasn't finished with him yet. He drew a Smith & Wesson Model 686 revolver and fired 6 shots at the back of the car, hitting Matix in the head and slaying him.
So he advanced forward on our position, laying down suppression fire. And ambushed Grogan and Dove, who were behind the car.
Morales then approached the driver's side door and fired at Platt, hitting him in the chest and ending the gunfight. The fallout. The Miami-Dade Shootout was a scene straight out of an action movie. Guns blazing, bullets flying, and heroes falling. And in just under 5 minutes, 145 shots rang out, leaving 4 lifeless and 5 injured. But just one agent emerged unscathed, Agent Rissner. Talk about lucky. Toxicology reports show that neither Matix nor Platt had any drugs in their system at the time of the shootout. And it wasn't long after the investigation began that it was revealed that the FBI agents lacked the necessary stopping power to take down these criminals. Most of these agents were armed with .357 Magnums and 38 special revolvers, which clearly didn't pack enough punch. So the FBI decided to step up their game and choose the Smith & Wesson 1076 as their new service weapon. The 10mm semi-auto pistol had better stopping power, but it was harder for agents to control. So the .40 Smith & Wesson round became a popular choice for law enforcement because it had less recoil. But the FBI still faced criticism for not providing enough protection for their agents. Only 2 out of the 8 agents involved in the shootout had any type of ballistic protection, and none of it was designed to stop the 223 rifle rounds fired by Platt's Mini 14. And to make matters worse, none of the participating agents had rifles. Yet 5 other vehicles involved in the operation had shotguns, MP5 sub-mash guns, and M16 rifles in their trunks, which could have potentially changed the outcome of the shootout. Despite the criticism, the Miami-Dade shooting remains one of the most memorable shootouts in history. Almost on par with the infamous 1997 North Hollywood bank shootout. These events provide a unique glimpse into the doctrines and methods used by law enforcement throughout our country's history, and they remind us that bravery comes in many forms, including the sacrifices made by the men and women who put their lives on the line.
No one expected to become one of the bloodiest chapters in FBI history.
Because of the continued use of violence by these 2 individuals.
Sergeant, more guys got shot. They're killing each other.
Who are they?
I don't know.
That's all for today, folks. See you next time.